Jonathan had always been a skeptic when it came to the paranormal. He had never believed in ghosts or anything supernatural, and he thought people who claimed to have seen them were either delusional or trying to pull a prank. That was until he started seeing them himself. It started with just a glimpse out of the corner of his eye, a shadowy figure moving quickly, silently, just out of sight. At first, he thought it was just his imagination playing tricks on him. But the more he saw them, the more he became convinced that something was following him. Jonathan couldn't explain what he was seeing. The shadow people seemed to be everywhere, lurking just out of sight. They never made any noise, and whenever he tried to get a good look at them, they disappeared. Jonathan tried to ignore them, but they were always there, lurking at the edge of his vision, following him wherever he went. He started to feel like he was going crazy. He couldn't sleep, and he was constantly on edge, waiting for the shadow people to appear again. One night, Jonathan decided to confront his fear head-on. He waited until it was dark and quiet, and then he turned off all the lights in his house. He sat in the darkness, waiting for the shadow people to show themselves. At first, nothing happened. Jonathan sat there in the dark, feeling foolish. But then he saw movement out of the corner of his eye. He turned to look, but there was nothing there. And then he heard a sound, a soft whisper in his ear. Jonathan jumped up, his heart racing. He turned on the lights, but there was nobody there. The house was empty. But he knew that he wasn't alone. The shadow people were there, watching him. Jonathan tried to leave the house, but they followed him wherever he went. They were in his car, in his office, and even in his dreams. He couldn't escape them. Eventually, Jonathan realized that the shadow people weren't just following him. They were trying to communicate with him. He started to pay closer attention to the movements and the whispers, and he began to decipher their message. The shadow people were warning him of a coming danger, something dark and terrible that was about to happen. Jonathan didn't know what it was, but he knew that he had to prepare for it. As the days passed, Jonathan became increasingly paranoid. He started to see danger in everything, and he spent all his time preparing for the worst. And then one night, as he was lying in bed, he heard a loud noise from outside. Jonathan got up and looked out the window. He saw a figure, a dark shape moving in the shadows. And then he saw more of them, dozens of shadow people converging on his house. Jonathan knew that he was in trouble. He had been warned, but he hadn't been able to stop it. The shadow people had been trying to protect him, but it was too late. As the shadow people closed in around him, Jonathan realized that he had been wrong. The sound of footsteps echoed through the abandoned mine as a group of explorers made their way deeper into the darkness. Their flashlights were the only source of light as they navigated the narrow tunnels and unstable terrain. The group consisted of 5 people: Mike, the experienced guide; Sarah, the thrill seeker; David, the skeptical scientist; Jake, the adrenaline junkie; and Emily, the cautious one. They were all excited to explore the mysterious mine, rumored to be filled with valuable minerals and hidden treasures. As they delved deeper into the mine, the air grew colder, and the sounds of their footsteps became more ominous. It wasn't long before they realized that they were not alone. The first sign of trouble came when Emily's flashlight flickered and died. She was left in complete darkness for a few seconds until her eyes adjusted to the dim light. But when she looked up, she saw a figure standing in front of her. It was a ghostly apparition, with eyes that glowed in the darkness. Emily tried to scream, but no sound came out. The others heard her gasp and turned to see what was happening. They too saw the ghostly figure and froze in fear. Suddenly, the ground began to shake and the walls of the mine started to crumble. Rocks and debris rained down on them, trapping them inside the mine. The group realized that they were in grave danger and tried to find a way out. As they searched for an exit, they came across strange markings on the walls and floor. They were ancient symbols, written in a language that none of them could understand. David, the scientist, took out his notebook and began to sketch the symbols, hoping to decipher their meaning. As they continued deeper into the mine, the group found more strange symbols and artifacts, including old mining equipment and skeletal remains. They soon realized that the mine had a dark history and that they were in grave danger. Just as they were about to give up hope, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber deep in the mine. Inside, they found an old map, which led them to a secret passage that would take them out of the mine. But as they made their way through the passage, they realized that they were being followed by the ghostly apparition. It was getting closer and closer, and they knew that they had to act fast. Jake, the adrenaline junkie, took out a stick of dynamite and lit the fuse. He threw it behind them, causing a massive explosion that shook the ground and destroyed the mine. The group made it out just in time, but they knew that the ghostly apparition was still out there, waiting for its next victim. In the end, the group made it out alive, but they were forever changed by their experience. They realized that some things are better left untouched and that there are some places in the world that should remain abandoned. The mine, with all its deadly secrets, would remain untouched, forever a dark reminder of the dangers that lurk in the unknown.